Parents should care about CRT. This is a Tribe Life story. Glenn Youngkin recently was elected Virginia's governor, partly because he promised to ban teaching of CRT. CRT stands for critical race theory, which argues that every American institution upholds white supremacy. Journalist Asra Noamani reveals some rather creepy CRT lessons that are taught in schools. Noamani filed Freedom of Information Act request that force schools district to reveal how they pay consultants to spread CRT. We found 300 plus contracts, say Naomi. Every day I'm getting a new contract. Some conservatives want to ban the teaching of CRT. That's not a good idea. Government shouldn't be banning ideas of taking choices away from teachers. Bans shield students from important topics. A better solution is legalizing school choice. Let parents take our tax money to a school we choose. Can you unpack that?
Well, let's start with the end. If there's a market, everything is made better by competition. And you look at New York, where I'm from, and you used to work, they spend more than $20,000 per kid. If you do the math, that's $400,000 per classroom.
Okay.
How many good teachers could you hire for that? You got to be able to hire 4 good teachers. And this was not capital costs. This was just what they put in to teach the kids every year. So where does the money go? Nobody can find out. It goes in. It's not just the union. It's the
administration, all that,
the
all
bureaucracy,
those layers of
and the PTAs get caught. The people who like going into windowless conference rooms and trying to figure out how to run other people's lives. Unless there's competition that forces them to make some cut somewhere and to spend more on the right things that the parents want, it'll never get better. I don't think the critical race theory stuff is a giant threat, but they have books like Woke Baby. I mean, critical theory is a law school theory, but it got down to the teachers, and many of them believe racism is everywhere, which I think is nonsense. There's more intermarriage than ever before, and isn't that a measure of racists getting along if you are eager to marry someone of a different race? But some kids are being taught that if you're white, you're a horrible person, and you stole from non-white people. You did it. Well, your parents did it and passed it down to you. But you have this huge advantage, and that's evil.
Do you believe in the power of affirmations?
I'm not sure what it means.
Power of affirmations, like saying, hey, you know, I'm going to have a good day today. You know, be careful what you joke about, but be sarcastic about, because the spirit stops having faith in the words that comes out of your mouth. I'm meant to do something special with my life. You know, do you believe in affirmations? Do you believe in affirmations, Danielle?
I do.
Do you believe in power of positive thinking?
Sure.
Can we say we all agree that Norman
I say
Vincent
an affirmation
Peale,
every morning.
Okay, I know you do, right? Yeah. Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking, New York, preach, you know, pastor, all this stuff, right? So I'm giving a talk, and I'm speaking in front of a group of kids and parents, probably 1,000 people in the room, and I'm up there talking about how great this country is, right? America's the greatest country in the world. Like, you know, American exceptionalism, this is the greatest place. And next thing you know, I see a couple of the teachers go like this. And I'm like, okay, my job is to read body language. This is what you do when you're speaking from stage. I'm like, okay, curious. I want to really talk to these guys afterwards. So I don't even need to go to them. They come up to me. Listen, first of all, thank you for coming up, but can I give you some feedback? Yes. You have to be very careful telling young kids a lie like America's the greatest country in the world. Do you realize America's one of the most racist countries in the world? And she went off, right? All these things about how horrible America is. I said, let me ask you a question. She said, yes. I said, do you believe in affirmations? She said, what's affirmation? And I told her, I said, do you think it serves kids to think positive thoughts about themselves, about their families, about their heritage, about their country? I think that's a form of manipulation. Oh, really? That's a form of manipulation. Interesting. So I shouldn't tell my kids, son, you can do almost everything you put your mind to, except some things that have physical abilities. If you can't jump 46 inches, you're probably not going to be LeBron James. Outside of some of physical stuff, you can probably do anything you want to do, right? Oh. Is that a bad thing to tell a kid? No, but that's not the point. We have to tell people the truth about the fact that racism exists. I'm like, ma'am, I just came and spoke at a white school, and I'm from Iran. Like, do you realize how you invited me? And I spoke, and I said how great your country is. This is an example of how great America is. Well, no, you haven't seen all the other stuff. I haven't seen all the other stuff. I was in the military, went to Kentucky. Have you lived in South Carolina or Kentucky? I lived in South Carolina, and I went to a Waffle House, which I don't miss going to Waffle House, right? So I go to Waffle House. This guy's looking at me saying, where are you from? I said, what do you mean? He said, can I just be honest? I said, yeah, sure. He said, I've never seen a nose like that in my life before. I said, this is a legendary Armenian nose. You cannot make these types of things. You have to have genetics.
The guy actually said that to your face.
I said, you realize your pretty boy nose that you got, it cost me $9,000 to make it look like yours. I said, you need billions to make yours look like mine, okay? All the money in the world's not going to. So he starts laughing. We start laughing. I said, I'm from Iran. He said, you're from Iran? Iran? I said, yeah, I'm from Iran. He said, what are you doing here? And we're at this Waffle House. I said, can I whisper it to you so it's not, I don't want people to know about this. Because I'm in the uniform. I said, listen, just between us, I'm a spy here. I'm trying to spy and study all your military tactics. I'm going to take it back to Iran. It's why I'm here. Seriously? Man, I'm kidding with you.
He's running for his gun range.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So to me, the biggest thing that CRT doesn't get is affirmations work. And if you want to put negative affirmations, they also work. If you tell hundreds of thousands of kids they're racist, by the time they're 18, they're convinced they're racist. And it continues for decades and decades and decades. And I think that's a problem. I think it's a different approach we can take. I may be wrong.
But there's people fighting their way into this country. Give me a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people want to come here. But when the kids are older, it's right to teach them about some of the horrible things that America has done. And it was just not taught to any kid when I was in 8th grade.
I mean, I think we all went to school and we learned about the Civil War and slavery. I don't think it wasn't called critical race theory, but we were all very aware.
That was part of the.
That was part of
curriculum.
exactly.
When the white people civilized America and rescued people from the savages, that stuff was in my courses.
Mm-hmm. Well,
White
is that wrong?
I'm vastly older than you guys.
Is that wrong? Is that incorrect?
No. America did some racist, nasty things.
No, but your statement is that white people civilized. He's asking, is that wrong? Because I think Lincoln's not black, right? Is he white or black?
Last I checked, he's still white.
I thought he was a white guy.
He's not with us anymore, by the way, Adam.
The Enlightenment
So I'm tweeting
civilized.
the other day.
Western values civilized the world.
Correct.
Yes. And
But-
you're not allowed to say that anymore.
But back to-
it's just true.
I don't know, maybe Glendale High School focused on it, but I remember I grew up. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, when I was in high school, I didn't like white people when I was in high school. Because what was sold to me was white people take advantage of everybody else. That's what was sold to me. And my teacher was white when she's teaching history. What they did to blacks, what they did to race. Till today, you're not going to find an office of mine or anything of mine without an MLK picture on the wall. Till today. MLK is a hero and obviously he just had his celebration. So I don't know if the histories, unless if it's inaccurate and Lincoln didn't play a big role, then we have to talk about it.
I mean, I grew up learning that, the horrors that we inflicted upon Native Americans when we landed here. I mean, they've got like 1.2% of their land left. But I mean, these are things that I learned growing up in school.
But I think we're missing a major point here. When you say we did this, we're all immigrants. My family came over from Russia in the early 1900s, okay? His family came from Iran. I don't know, you're Jewish. Your family probably landed on Ellis Island. Your family's
Ellis
Italian.
Island, 1920s.
I don't know. I mean, unless you're like original OG Jamestown waspy English from 1600s, we all immigrated from countries where we had to get the hell out of because we were getting persecuted, whether that was religiously or economically, and we had to make a move. So when we white people, how many people are just straight white people that just landed on Plymouth Rock? Like the old Malcolm X, I didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on me. So the old white people thing, I just think is just a blanket statement that just actually doesn't hold water to most people. Am I wrong on that, John Stossel?
No. And also, slavery was ended by white people. Most college students now think America created slavery, started it.
Now you're contradicting yourself, John.
I like to do that, just like you do.
So
you
why
know?
you tease him?
Keeping PBD on his
Please,
toes.
keep going, keep going.
It was the British more than we, but even people from Mexico who ended slavery. But it began in the Middle East. It was perpetuated all over Africa. And somehow white people are the bad guys.
And it continues to this day in various parts of
Right.
the world.
6 countries.
Let's not forget that we killed Gaddafi, and now there's a giant slave trade in Libya. Let's not forget about that.
What's your point with that?
It's his point. Slave trading is still on today. There are thousands of slaves being traded in Libya
Yeah.
after we bombed and assassinated Gaddafi.
So we shouldn't have killed Gaddafi?
Yeah, are you advocating for us not to have killed Gaddafi?
It's the voice of God called David. But go ahead.
You may have a good point.
I don't think we should have killed Gaddafi.
Tell us why. Tell us
because
why.
we brought the country into chaos. Gaddafi had backed off. He understood that we had his number. He had backed off. He wasn't the terrorist he was 10 years ago, before we assassinated. And look what happened after he was gone. The country has fallen into complete chaos.
And it's often justified by this idea of American exceptionalism. We go into all these other countries and tell them how to run things, and we make it worse.
I mean, an even worse example than Gaddafi is what's happened in Iraq. We prop up these Gaddafis, these Saddam Husseins as these boogeymen. These are horrible people. We got to get them out. And next thing you know, that it creates this vacuum. Boom, ISIS. Boom, slave trades in Libya. So it's like, what are we trading? One, what is he? Just a complete leader, totalitarian is the word I'm looking for basically a complete psychopath mindset that ISIL brings.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.